This is my tribute to Thomas Emil Homerin. I could not come personally due to the continuing COVID situation, so I made a short slideshow video. I will be watching your presentation, your memorial, hopefully online from Switzerland. I'm Mark Staff Brandl. You will see and hear tributes here to Thomas Emil Homerin as a scholar, a professor, a husband, a father, and author. I'm going to pay tribute to him as the best friend ever. This is my Facebook profile pic. First, let me say that if you have wondered about his TH abbreviation, I am responsible for that, so blame me. When I discovered as a teen that in Old English books Thomas was sometimes abbreviated so, I found it cool and showed him. He began to use it, which is good because in the university with piles of Steves and Bobs and Marks and Toms, he decided to use his more unique middle name, Emil. I began to go by my weird to English speakers last name of Brandl, but we both continued to call each other Tom and Mark, so I will be saying Tom a lot here. Here's his last present to me for our birthday, his wonderful 7th book. Tom Emil. Yes, Tom was the best friend one could ever have throughout life. Not at all common, unfortunately. Here we are as kids, about the time we met. A photo and a drawing. About our past, as Tom explained in his book, Umar ibn al-Farid. I want to add that I first met the cover artist Mark Staff Brandl in our hometown of Pekin, Illinois when we were both 10 years old. A fast friendship immediately ensued when we learned that we were born approximately 10 hours and 10 miles apart on the same day, May 19, 1955. Since then, we have crossed paths repeatedly, and over the last 25, now actually 55, let me add, years, have collaborated on numerous reviews, articles, and projects involving art and mysticism, including this painting, about which may be added this final note. When the Mysticism series, Classics of Western Spirituality, began in 1978, I, meaning Tom, as a first-year graduate student, was heard to remark, "I'll be in that series someday," to which Brandl said, "And I'll paint your cover." No doubt we spoke from naivete, even hubris, but then here we are. The cover. I remember when we discovered world religions as kids. I am also a bit guilty here. My Lutheran confirmation pastor introduced them to us to inoculate us, I guess. It worked oppositely. I loved Zen. I rushed home and told Tom. He was intrigued by Zen Buddhism and Taoism. We began reading and researching, and soon he knew more than I did. This is the superhero universe we created as kids. This is a crummy photo of an early painting of mine with Tom's childhood home and mine in the background and featuring his love for cats. And he also loved dinosaurs and comics and mysticism and Nora. His home and parents were truly my second ones. We spent alternating weekends at each other's houses so we could get up, play, and create comics all of Saturday together. We also always insisted, and it was true, that his dad Floyd looked and talked like John Wayne and mine, Earl, like Jimmy Cagney. This is probably our first comic, a page Nora likes because it is so childishly written and drawn. We did get better. Here we are about 11 years old, with me swiping from Gene Colan. I'm on the left, Gene is on the right. And here a Marvel crossover we called Armageddon. Armageddon again. As kids, I made a logo of our two faces merged with the term dusk, which was Tom's creation, the word, as a name for one of our pretend comic book companies, after the other ones, Prince, Stallion, World, Last Dusk. I then created a more abstract one below later, based on a drawing by Tom. I still use it to this day for anything that has to do with us collaborating. Here we are as teens trying to do our best Rolling Stones garage rocker look. A couple years later, I usually have the worst trendy haircuts here, by the way. And more of us as we sort of grew up. This is in the university when Tom met Nora, the wonderful love of his life. One of the greatest marriages and partnerships ever, which thrilled me immensely as I had a much more checkered parade of women until my 30s when I married Cornelia and moved to Switzerland from Chicago. Here is a more professor looking, but still youngish, Tom Emil. But he was not always as staid as some here might believe. I will not go into details, although Nora would not care. I was approached about doing a comic form autobiography of myself, but realized it would have to be a double bio with Tom, too. And I was not sure how much I was comfortable elaborating on his past and mine. We were that generation, right? Rock and roll and all that. Just one detail. As teens, we blew up my parents' speakers, partying and playing Inagata Davida and The Who far too loud. I have done many portraits of Tom. My favorite is a quasi-abstraction in my covers series, looking like a sketch for a comic book cover, and the image is a drastic enlargement of his signature with his initials, and that phrase he used to describe himself so well, blue-collar scholar. His father was a factory worker, mine a sign painter. What he achieved was all from himself. Tom was the smartest, hardest working, most creative person I ever met, and a wonderful human. This is an icon, fake icon, I made of him for my Russian art history class, kind of teasingly. Another recent portrait drawing. And one I just did shortly before his untimely death. But even more than the portraits, he appeared in and collaborated with me on most of my art. Who am I going to get to go along with such craziness now? Here he is in my first big installation in Cranard Art Museum with our pal, who also passed away, musician Matthew Swires. We even did a 1 year long cartoon comic strip together in English and German, published. Didn't make it to Arabic, though. Here is another installation performance when we were younger, where we created comic characters again. I think maybe grad school. Such as this character, Paradox, very Homerinian. He and Nora did a whole long series of performances in Egypt for me, which became a major publication written by Tom and two exhibitions by me. One painting from the performance just shown, another performance photo and painting. Tom as Adam Strange in Egypt. The publication. And just 10 years ago, we did a show together with a third childhood friend, in a Kunsthalle Art Center in Peoria, Illinois, which Tom flew in for, which was an amazing gesture of friendship. Unfortunately, we have lost the third friend to Murdoch Fox MAGA fascist conversion. Tom appeared in several places in my PhD dissertation, mostly quoted, which was written, but had for fun some pages in comic style and an accompanying painting installation. Tom organized a show for me at the University of Rochester in the 80s. He will appear in my upcoming aesthetic philosophy book for Bloomsbury Press, Visual Metaphor in Contemporary Art. It is all text, but has some comic-style chapter frontispieces, one of which here, for instance, features Tom. And in life, we traded presents for what we called our birthday. These were his last such to me. He sure knew me. I was thrilled to be the best man, by the way, also at Nora and Tom's wedding. And they made it many years later from Egypt to Cornelia and my wedding in Switzerland, where, by the way, we were partying so hearty that one of my wife's aunts, a nice woman but older, asked me if he really was a doctor professor. We even met by chance in Istanbul not too many years ago, where he happened to be a visiting scholar speaker and I a visiting artist and art historian speaker in another venue. Sometimes I have bemoaned that it seems so hard to have really great friends. I have tons of good acquaintances and a great friend in Switzerland now in the author Daniel Amann, but in Thomas Emil Homerin I had the greatest friend ever for my whole life. I thought I would go first. I did many more stupid things and have led a less healthy life. I told him that days before he passed away, and he laughed, and even when so ill, and agreed. I miss him already immensely. Love to you and bless your soul, Tom, and love and strength to Nora, Luke, Kristen, Elias, and the rest of the family and his colleagues and friends.